Thank you for joining us on today's news review. My name is Diana Mbogwa and I'm joined by one of WTV's anchors, Zawadi Modibo. And of course, we'll be discussing some of the stories making headlines and of course, what has been going on during the week, including the cheating of examinations, the KCSE examinations. And as we can see today from the newspapers, 14 teachers, 2 policemen and 79 students rather have been arrested. And of course, you can give us your feedback on our SMS line 20058. Mr. Zawadi, kindly tell us, what do you think about, this state of affair?
I think to begin us off, we need to look at the genesis of the trouble or problem.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week, the chairperson of the Education Committee, that is Sabina Chege, made certain remarks claiming, in fact, that the police were to blame for the leakage because once examination papers leave NEC offices, then what happens is they are in the custody of police for security reasons before they are dispatched to various examination centers. So then, according to her, the buck stops with the police. These claims were also denied by the spokesperson of police, Charles Owino.
Yes.
However, now the information now coming out from the ministry saying there are about 14 teachers and 2 policemen who were arrested and at least 79 students who are suspected to have had the initial contact with examinations. Only goes to show a sad state of affair, because I am not certain that only those suspected 79 students are the only ones that had access.
Yeah.
I'm sure probably they must have met in groups, they must have sent those messages on groups, and it's really a complicated situation. I've said this before, and I think the only solution would have been an emergency examination on papers that are suspected to have been leaked out.
Yeah.
So if we cannot have mitigations of emergency papers, then that means there is a problem.
Yeah, and it's also sad to note that even the parents are involved, apparently sending questions to their kids, on WhatsApp, and you're wondering, if my parent is involved, how are we going to help this kind of situation?
Well, what I think is, parents are parents, and as a parent, probably you want the best for your child. How you define best is relative.
It's relative.
Because one would think giving them undue access to examination will help them attain certain marks that will make them pass and probably get qualification to admission to public universities.
Yes.
But what also as parents we need to realize is, as you do that, then you are not helping this child.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, let their capabilities be the basis upon which they can further their studies. Let their strengths come out.
Yeah.
But if you give them undue advantage, then that means is you might pass very well with flying colors, as we say, and possibly you get admission to study law or to study medicine, and you have no clue
I think these are
about
also,
sciences.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you either drop out or you fail miserably.
Or you buy the papers. Remember the story of buying papers again. I think that's what ends up. And then there's that argument that why there's leakage right now is because first of all there was the the term is really short. Then there was the teacher strike that really delayed, all the preparations for the KCSE exams. And, now they're saying there is no way out. Our students have to pass. And this is the only way. We have to just, help them out.
Yeah, maybe. But then, I think teachers in Kenya are currently going through a very difficult phase.
Yes.
Looking at the strike that there was, the court orders, some which people have argued were never adhered to. Looking at a retention, by the way, a retention of monies that was supposed to be deducted from teachers' pay and wired to the teachers' union, which includes NAT. Then it's really a difficult state of affair. But what I know as a teacher, you will want your students to pass, especially if you're taking them through a certain subject.
Yes.
But then there is no guarantee. At the end of the day, there's no guarantee that the paper that or questions you have for certain subjects are actually the questions that will be coming forth as the exams come. So then what if you distributed questions or question papers and students prepared, and then at the end of the day they met different examinations?
Yeah.
So I think that is also something that we need to be cautious about.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we cannot as a country fight corruption if there are certain loopholes of this nature that keep thriving and coming up. If a student at a tender age, 15, 16, is able to engage in buying papers or paying for examination,
It's very sad, yeah.
what happens when this student is now a grown-up, maybe at 40, at 50?
Yeah.
Just how corrupt do you think they will be if they continue that trend?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what is ailing Kenya. Most of the corrupt people across the world, and particularly in Kenya, if you look at their history, there are certain traits that began from a very tender age.
Yeah. Now, moving on, Mr. Zawadi, Deputy President William Ruto says that Fatou Bensouda, ICC prosecutor, has not much evidence, to prosecute him, and the case should be dismissed. What do you think about this ICC case?
Well, the ICC case, I know the Deputy President is on record saying he's innocent, and the case that there is a case that never was.
Yes.
Saying the reactions that we had, or the post-election violence, was majorly, spontaneous, meaning that the fact that supporters of the Orange Party then had all reasons to believe their candidate was going to gain leadership in terms of winning the election, and they felt they were robbed of the election, so they reacted without prior coaching or without prior preparation.
Yeah.
However, there are certain things that we also need to look out. We have had cases of witnesses. I think of the 6 witnesses that the Office of the Prosecutor brought forth at first, 2 of them were declared unreliable by the OTP, that is the Office of the Prosecutor itself.
Yes.
3 others, I think, if not more, recanted their evidence, meaning they actually disowned what they had initially said.
Yeah.
And then there was this dramatic twist where the court again allowed that evidence that had initially been declared as not useful could be referred to by the Office of the Prosecutor. So then again, there's so many difficulties in understanding the ICC case, because if you look at the argument, of the prosecutor, saying the Deputy President is in power as a Deputy President, and therefore has the capacity to influence the witnesses in terms of bribing and also and so many other issues. So that is, of course, for the court to decide. But
of course,
I think at the end of the day, what all Kenyans, and I think including the Deputy President, would want is to see justice to the over 1,200 people who died, their families, their relatives, their friends, and the over 6,000 internally displaced person.
People, yes.
Yeah, some are still in IDP camps even as we speak.
They're still there.
And some, as much as were relocated, cannot really gain their footing because you've been living in a place for 20 years and you realize you cannot live there anymore, or the environment is hostile and you have to begin your life afresh. There's so much psychological torture, and I think that is really a problem that we are having as a country. And I think the only way to solve this issue is to have genuine reconciliation, where we can have people who know, and I'm sure they know they were behind the violence, can take responsibility.
There's someone who was actually arguing that there's no, the case at Hague does not really matter. What matters, what is important is what is happening to these people who are really affected, the people who died, their families, what is happening to them now. I think even people forget that there are actually IDPs, out there who actually have to live with the fact that they cannot go back to their homes ever again. They have to start a new life, but which they did. And it's a very sad situation. And then, there was this kind of now people mentioning other people who were involved. The deputy president mentioning parties that were actually involved, that he, defending himself, saying he was not the one, in the whole criminal case, and saying other parties were involved, mentioning of other parties during the election.
Okay, what I think happens or should happen as far as certain cases are concerned, and in any legal sphere, if you are accused, then it will be foolhardy for you to want to say you have the wrong person, so and so did the wrong, is the person responsible. I think as an accused person, it is your responsibility to prove to the court system or the legal system that you are actually innocent. It's not your business to tell the court someone else was responsible. And that means you have information about the case, only that you are maybe not directly involved, and that also makes you culpable. Yeah, so I think it's always safe to stick to the lane. You've been accused, just exonerate yourself and leave it at that. So I think we'll just wait and see how the case goes. But I only hope, and I'm sure it's the prayer of many Kenyans, all Kenyans really, that justice is served, particularly for the affected families.
Tell us what you think. Our SMS line is 20058. Our Twitter handle at WTVKE, and our Facebook page WTV Kenya. We'll take a short break, but we'll be right back.